Welcome. My name is Liz McGee, Prophecy for the Last Hour. I have a pretty meaty teaching again. We're going to go deep into the Torah. We're going into the mysteries. And I'll tell you what, these mysteries are sometimes past finding out. They're so deep. The understanding and knowledge of our tradition of Elohim is quite amazing. But I'm going to disseminate this kind of understanding because, again, I listen. There is such a battle out there. This battle is in North America, so I want to try to paint this picture for people. Against Kabbalah, against the oral Torah, against the mystical writings, against the deeper level understanding that is in our Torah, all right? There is this real battle raging, a lot of it on YouTube, a lot of teachers who want to badmouth, I've said this a million times, Kabbalah, but it's an interesting phenomenon because I don't know why it should scare Hasatan so greatly that the North American two-house Israelites would really get this. Other parts of the world had no problem. There's the Baal Shem Tov, there's a huge movement out of Hasidic Judaism, Europe, South America, in Israel. I mean, I've said this. So I don't understand truly 100%, except I do because the powerhouse that the elect would be that would just embrace this understanding and rise up because of our place in the world. Oh my gosh. But we're going to keep pressing on. We are going to win the fight. So there is this whole part of the thing that's going to happen is the mystical writing is good, and science, this is what's prophesied, are going to, like, all of a sudden they're going to get it, each other. In other words, the science is going to prove that, wow, our Torah was really right all along. We just didn't really know what it was saying. We lost the keys, we had bad teachers, whatever. But when the heavens are revealed, when this whole thing, it is in one level, a level of consciousness, this aha moment where people are going to look up and they're going to be like, oh my gosh, I get it. I never really bought into it or saw it, but it's true. So what am I talking about? People know I'm a watercolorist, so this one, another one, I have little paintings behind me. There's a moon higher up and some other things in it. But this is really what is a depiction of the heavens. Now let me say this, and the earth. Now I know you see water there, but if you understood the keys, how they're used, basically, the heavens, we know, we don't have a problem, that's always sort of the celestial world, right? But when the word talks about the earth, which is referencing really the world of Asiyah, which is this whole world of manifestation that, let's just say, we or any animal, according to their programs, can see, taste, touch, hear, we can interface with on a literal level because we have faculties. We have real hands, real eyes, real ears. We can see and taste and hear things that are really going on in this physical plane, all right? So but what they do is, you've heard the phrase, as above, so below, or the upper waters and the lower waters. Because in the first day of creation, remember, he separated the waters. Well, what this talking about, he made a separation between the heavens and the earth, the upper waters and the lower waters. So in your text, when you read like the word sea and the lower waters, this is really talking about the world of physicality. Like I said, in one level, you have to really train your mind to understand the words are being used to express archetypal imagery that gives us the spiritual understanding, okay? So when the glory of Elohim will cover the earth as the waters cover the sea, all right? It's talking about on the lower level of us here, where everybody is in their brain, that aha moment, we're going to be like, oh my gosh, there really was a man, really was Elohim, the man behind the curtain who was running the show on everything. And oh my gosh, why didn't I bow the knee when I had the chance? I mean, that's kind of where we're going as a revelation for a lot of people. But it's important to understand all the different levels that these words are used. And in one very important way, the heavens and the earth, this is depicting, and see, this is what is the brilliancy of the sages and the way they use the words in the Hebrew, which is another whole thing I've been trying to say. But we can't go there. There is always two programs that consist of running at the same time. See, because you have to realize it really is just one huge computer simulation with the most sophisticated programs that our minds, this is why the mysteries, it's almost impossible sometimes for us to really comprehend the depth, the intricacy of what's really going on with these quote-unquote programs that Elohim is running to keep this whole virtual reality we call life going on all of its different levels. And that includes, see, the heavens, the high heavens, the throne room, the abyss. You know, these are all places populated. Okay. But anyways, the heavens and the earth code for the soul. See, heavens really is, now this is in the computer, it's understanding. That's why computer analogy is the great, they're always programs. And they know this even in the concept of what they call it, 5G printing, where you can actually print a 3D object. I mean, we're getting so sophisticated in how the relationship, the programs that create form or manifested things, like I said before, that we can see, hear, taste it. Those programs emanate and run from the heavens. All right, so the way you look at it is, and this is what I always say, is relationship between form and energy. So you look at the heavens represent the energy, the energetic energy, and we know this, the influence. The thing about secular science is they want to tell you that all these forces, they know the sun emits it, they know we're influenced by the stars, they know that, look at the moon causes the tides, you know, all this kind of stuff. There's so much science knows that we interface, but they won't tell you that this is part of, you know, that this is part of the creator's handiwork, or that these are living intelligences populated with quote unquote angels, or nothing more than nature, natural forces that interact and get Elohim's, the work of Elohim done in our lives or in the world. Okay, we have to understand is these words are encoded with intense, accurate, really physics. All right. So the soul, the heavens represent the origination, the place where these programs run from. And this is something, see, that the ancients understood. That's why there's so much reference to the stars and the, you know, even coding it to the days of the week. I mean, into astrological influences. This, they didn't think this would, they knew this is how things worked. See, so when we read these works, we don't quite know what to do with their, because it's foreign to us, but you need to retool your brain. This is what it means to get back to a pure language, understand the original plan, which has never changed. You know, we've moved away, whatever. Now the sea, so then you see the waters, you know, they're saying that the seas are churned up, you know, and they know some, you know, even in Christian Bible commentaries, you'll see it talk about, well, the peoples and the nations, it means that they're getting churned up. Well, it's true, because people, right, I live, you live, I'm assuming, in this world of Asiyah, this lower, and so it is the waters below. The thing we have to understand about the waters below, you know, okay, so this is, nobody disputes this. No Torah says there are 10 levels, 10 heavens, 10 emanative levels to this thing that we know, the program that runs in the lower waters, you know, from the sun, moon, and the stars down. So there's levels to this thing. They know that there's certain programs run and do certain things on certain levels. This is how you, so I talked about the world of physicality, the right above and really connected to very closely. This is why I say it's important to understand Hebrew words. Y'all understand what they mean when they talk about your neshif, your soul life that is attached to your body, which is animating your faculties. All right. Your ruach, which, like I said, is the Brahman going up and down. You know, because a lot of you have to connect to the heavens. You have to go up and think about something, you know, and bring it down. Because again, thought, where is thought? Where are you going to put it? Well, you put it in the heavenly realms. This is why, you know, the mentalities, the intelligences, the celestial, the angels, these are all things that are in heavens, because these are what's the word I'm looking for? Non-physical, all right? But we know our mind is real. I mean, I got a mind. It has thoughts. Okay? And they want to tell you today that they're all just plain organic. It's a lie, okay? They have an organic connection, Absolutely. The element, they're tied in with certain elementals. I just don't say this one. So you always have the soul, you have the program, which is the soul. And in our world of Yetzirah, our emotional world, the world of our memories, the world where this is the one that really got infiltrated with Eve in the garden. This is what fell. We contaminated this world of this level of our soul of the world of Yetzirah. Okay, this is why angels and demons, fallen angels, there are entities vibrationally, and at this point I'm convinced it's all, you know, energy, vibrational. If it's a pure essence, it's vibrational waves are so high you would never in a million years be able to capture it, right? Okay, so, but a lot of the lower level, let's say living souls or angels and everything, they're close enough to our physical world of Asiya. They can go in and out. See, they were kind of built with these programs. And I'm going to prove to you, going to do a lot of reading from the sages and from the Zohar. So you have, so stars are like the actual program, the hard, the zip file. I don't know how, you know, that contains the soul or the program. Okay, so I have my computer. So I want to run I want to run Zoom. I got to click the Zoom icon, so to speak, and then that whole program opens up. This is really what it's like. The stars, and in this way, the rabbis, the sages will say that there is not even a blade of grass on the planet. Everything has, it's like almost, it's programmed. It's where it is stored, okay, in the heavens. So if an angel, if Elohim, if a magician, somebody in the know, or if a holy Sadiq, whatever, needs to access that, this is what a whole lot of the story is, but they can do that because you would know, you know, which, this is why, you know, worshiping the sun, moon, and stars, there's so much information. But what I'm trying to paint this picture, this is an archetype. Once it's established, it never changes. You can always kind of follow it in a straight line. You just have to keep it straight. You have to keep, so stars are like the vessels, all right? So it says that we have this glory, this program. So our souls are born again. In other words, we run out of neshama, which is the highest level of the soul, like we're born again in what it's talking about, in this earthen vessel. So there's always a vessel, which is always talking about the container, what you put something in. So you're going to make a program, fine, but the program has to put it in something to store it, to keep it, give it an icon, give it a zip, so that you can access it. Okay, you don't roam all over the universe looking for, you know what it's like on cyber, to try to find something that you bookmarked once that you happens to me all the time. Anyways. So you have to understand that this side of the stars represents this concept of the vessel. And it's always coded with the left side, and it's always coded with the female. This is what, it has nothing to do, you know, again, let's elevate our minds in the discussion. Nothing to do with me being a female and you in the audience being a male. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a theological, a classification system, how to differentiate vessels, the containers, from the programs. Okay, and the programs are called the soul. And there's two programs, we know this, and this is sort of what with this tree of light and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. There are programs of light and programs of darkness. It gets very intricate. It gets very, very specific and intricate. But this is why it says, you know, choose you this day who you will serve. Because depending on which program you click, what you open, what you access in your mind, determines your reality, because it is all like a big computer simulation of virtual reality. So that's why it says, choose you this day whom you will serve, meaning what kind of reality you're going to bring in and who's going to be your master over it, because we know there's light and there's darkness, which are coded ways of talking about. There's a demonic realm and there is a holy realm, and each has a king over it. Your king can be Hasatan or your king can be Yad-He-Vav-He. You know, they both have. So this is what it's saying. And depending on, and this is as above, so below. So whatever program from below you click on above, that fruit, which is a code word for soul, because you're going to click that fruit, you're going to eat. In other words, you're going to take that into yourself, and that will manifest certain behaviors. So when the sages are talking and the prophets encoding information for us in the Torah, they know all this, and they're specifically using words. So this earth, and so the heavens and the earth coded is the world of physicality, the earth, right, and the soul. And so when it's coded, the earth is always at the left side through the three pillars. Let's say the earth is on the left side, the soul is on the right side. The right side is understood as a male, all right? And I'm going to get to this. And the earth is always understood as on the left side. And in the middle, you have the middle pillar, which is justice, which is Yavhe, Vavhe. So the vessel is always feminine, okay? And I'm going to explain this. The male is always masculine, is always the soul. But this is the point. It's always force and matter. Because they chose these words specifically because Yahweh, who never changes, men and women, the only way we ever have babies, the way Yahweh intended it, okay, was the male who is the force. So look at this, say, he has a stream, an emanation, because it really is. I mean, if we understood, like I have a whole Sex in the Soul video, listen to it. If we understood what we were doing when we quote unquote create life, unbelievable. But his force, his stream enters into the female who is the womb, is the earth, the vessel. So, but this works while it's literal for humans and all the population, really, there's always takes a male and a female to create a third. It is the concept, even in the heavenlies. This is what needs to be understood, because people are out there saying, don't understand. If you don't understand something, don't, because life and death are in the power of the tongue, and I am saying this prophetically. Don't, teachers or anybody, don't parrot or badmouth something that you don't understand, okay? If you have not actually read the Zoharic writings, read them for understanding, then you don't have any right to comment on them, all right? I'm halfway through the whole, so I mean, I've done my homework, okay? I think I have some right and authority to speak on these matters, all right? So I'm just telling you, you've got to be careful how, because life and death, that's quite literal. You can damn yourself to hell by, and this is what happens by your confession, all right? I wish we understood how deep these things were, but be that as it may, the vessel, so this principle of recreation, of creation, of generating, of making something, all right? It always takes two, and if it's a computer program, X's and Y's, right? This is the same principle. It's an archetype. There is an energy source, there is a program that has to go down, and it has to combine in a vessel to make something. I mean, what's the point? You can't just have, this is what it says, that knowledge streams in all the heaven, from the heavens, it's the knowledge, it's streaming everywhere. We grab it and bring it into our reality, okay? But literally, so we are the vessel, the earth, on many levels. This is what the earth is talking about. Even when it talks about women with a womb, it receives. This is what it's talking about with female. It doesn't have to have anything to do with putting, men and women putting boundaries or something. That even on the rabbis' part, there was a lot of non-understanding that has gone into making this difficult for people. But it's really a very simple concept. What I'm trying to say is, you have to have something that can receive the printer. If you're going to even print something, you have to have something that can receive it and then make it. All right, has all the raw ingredients. That's what the earth is. It has all the dust. Dust is talking about the elemental particles of life. We know this. The chemical chart. Everything is made up of some kind of combinations of stuff from that chemical chart. And then you add other things to it, all right? But that is always considered to be part of the earth, part of the vessel, part of what is feminine, part of the left side, okay? These are very important to understand. And fliply, you have what is called the soul or the emanation. You have the right side. You have to have an energy, a force, the program, the information to go into the vessel to make something. So in other words, to make a baby, right, it takes a male and a female, obviously, but to make the third, it's what's important is the archetype, that you're taking a emanative force, you're putting it into something that can hold that information, and then has the programs, the raw materials, to make it into something, what the program says to do. I mean, this is really and truly, it's unbelievable how brilliant the sages were when they did this. But when you're talking in the heavenlies, God, Yahweh is spirit. There's no sexual intercourse going on in heaven. This is what I mean. Like, don't talk unless you really understand what you're talking about. All right? Say, I don't know. That's humility. Humility is to say, I don't know. I'm not really sure. It's pretty, okay, yeah, it's kind of foreign language, but don't go farther and make up an explanation that's going to really anger Yahweh. So anyways, okay, so choose you this day. So and this whole system works together. The heavens and the earth work together. It's a huge, this is the whole kind of you reap what you sow. So in other words, these are laws, spiritual laws, they work for saint or sinner a lot of times, this is a lot of this information is being rediscovered, quote unquote, repackaged and put out there, like I said, in the New Age movement and in a lot of, that's why they're bringing back a lot of these Wiccan, the pagan understandings, because this was common knowledge in the ancient world, all right? So you reap what you sow. The program you open is what's going to have manifestation. So this goes, and this is why it's so, the Torah's always telling us, choose the right side, if you're going to choose the way of life, because there's the way of life and there's the way of death. Death emanates, that has a place on the left side where it was created, where it originates from. This is also deep. So there is this always symbiosis or synergy. There's this constant relationship. This is talked about, even, like I said, never breaking archetype. In the beginning, the earth was without form or void. The earth was tahu bahu. If you understood from the Hebrew, I said chaos. Okay, so the world became, because this is another thing that's all over the Hebrew and the Torah, and you can understand the sages have it. It's all over the Zohar mystical writings. They know this. There have been many worlds. This is the shattering of the vessels. This is no new information. It's not taking our sages by surprise. So the earth became without form, right? The earth became from, it was like blown apart. This is, we'll get into this, there is these galactic wars in the heavenlies. I mean, there's a lot. When you understand this language and then you go deeper, and I'm going to go into because I'm going to go into explaining some of this, the Rephaim, the Anakim, the giants, this whole concept a little bit with this relationship. But you have chaos, which is unformation, which is where stuff is not in order. It's not going to make anything that's beautiful. It's not going to make anything that Yahweh made that he said is good. When the earth becomes chaotic, this can be from, literally, if people are constantly picking or clicking on programs, so to speak, of chaos. That's what it says. I've known people bring a lot of chaos into their life. Their life is always chaos. Well, it's quite obvious. They're not living, kind of a Torah lifestyle, which blesses you, promises you peace. Peace, number one, and prosperity and health. And, there's so many, and good relationships and all these different things. So you say chaos is the side of darkness. It's the fruit of that left side of darkness, all right? Versus Bahu, which is the world that had received instruction. So in other words, when we recreated it, this gets really deep into the tree of life, which, again, my website is going up soon, and hopefully can really try to explain this. Especially my burden is for my people like myself, who, I didn't choose to be clueless per se, but when Yahweh started drawing me into it, I didn't kick against the pricks and fight against it. But this is the world that had finally received instructions again into recreation. So the heavens was putting everything back in order, putting the right programs, so that the people, so Adam and all the other living beings could access the programs of formation that would create what was very good. I mean, they really know what they're saying when they use these words, the bigger theological picture and what is being expressed, okay? So, because like I said, when Yahweh came, all right, let me not get to, because this explains the left and the right and the middle pillar, okay? But let's get into this whole thing. I wanted to read some stuff about, because this is very important to understand. I'm trying to figure out, like everybody else, I mean, you got to read and meditate. But the world, we now know that the world, obviously, there were many incursions, you know, into the DNA, the genetics of mankind, a lot of mixture, not only with us, but I'm trying to explain to in other videos, the way the words are coded, Adam is the Adamic son of Elohim, the firstborn, okay? So Adam, and in Eve, what it's talking about there is the fact that the male and the female were combined into one entity. Originally, the whole heavens and earth were operating together in perfect, unison and unity. You know, he made the moon, the sun and the moon, you know, and they ruled equally in the heavens. But because of the fall, different things, you know, the relationship got changed. The female now is in a more disheveled, the earth. Okay, remember when I say female, I'm talking about earth. I'm talking about the world of physicality. And there's a lot more into that, but basically it became Tahu, chaos, and Yahweh is in the process. See, this whole thing is, we're not totally back home yet. This is the point. People think it all happened on the first day. It is still a huge process of putting back together into Bahu, into proper order and alignment, a new heaven and a new earth. This is what he's talking about. And okay, so these words, so the lower, when you understand the world of Asiyah, and even in that, so hierarchically, it tells us so much information. First of all, this is why numbers are important. There's 7 earths. There's 7 levels. Now, this is really coded deeply, and I think a lot of it manifests differently vibrationally. I think it is, okay. And there are 7 lower levels called the abyss, called hell, Sheol, the underworld. All right, so even in this, you see the water, okay, which we've established is the way of talking about the lower waters, includes within it actually a couple levels of reality, of living souls, of manifested beings, angels, and Adamites. This is what, let me just say this, when it talks about fish and birds and cattle and insect, we think they're talking about the literal, but it's not. It's coded, it's code word. It's talking about different souls, different levels of souls, different kind of angelic orders, different sons of Elohim. It's all, and they have different programs. They have different abilities, okay? Some angels are greater, archangels, we know this, you know, much greater than some, you know, little ones. So this is why all this information is packed in there. But there the guardian angels, it talks about, we know are much lower to the ground, so to speak. They have a much greater ability, and we know this. Many entertain angels unaware. So why would some, you know, I believe that's a New Testament Bible verse. So what did these people know? Meaning they were Jewish in their understanding. So that's an Old Testament concept. Many entertain angels unaware. So these angels that are out there, and they're ministers, they're servants of Yahweh, they're doing his work, his bidding in the world, manifest. We interface with them all the time. Well, who knew, you know? And I have, everybody, you know, and it's fun to sometimes swap angel stories. I have stories, oh my gosh, had to be an angel. There's just no other way, okay? But the fallen angels is in this category. Again, there's many levels, you know, Hasatan, but let's say the rank, the troops, the what do you call them, you know, the rank and file, fallen angels, demons, things work in these lower levels that are very closely associated with the world of Asiyah, and they can go up and down. Now let me explain. Let me start with a quote out of the Zohar. See, you got to read it, people. Just read it. Get rid of fear, okay? Yahweh is not a God of fear, all right? You have the mind of Christ, okay? You go in with the mind, you stick with the mind, the anointing that will lead you into all truth, okay? But there's a quote here, and this is volume 3. Volume 1, okay. This is page 330, volume 1. It talks about, okay, Rabbi Yosei teaches, these are Uzzah and Azel, as has been stated, cast down by the Blessed Holy One from supernal sanctity. Now we know this is in a lot of the other writings, the fallen angels, and again, they have names, the leaders. Okay, so there's always a pecking order, there's always hierarchy, there's always, you know, sergeants, or, you know, in front of I don't know how it goes, corporals, sergeants, lieutenants, you know, they all have rank, okay? So it's the same principle in our text. It says there were Nephilim, fallen beings who were on the earth in those days, okay? So, but how could they survive in this world? Because technically they're not humanoids, they're not Adam. So, goes on to say, Rabbi Haya, they were among those of whom it is written, let birds fly upon the earth. See, now this is where I'm saying it's all code. Birds is a great code word for angels, a very easy one that most people, because they fly very close to the ground. They can even land on the ground, okay? These people are not making stuff up, all right? And as explained, they appear to humans in human appearance. Many have entertained angels unawares, okay? If you ask, how can they transform? It has been stated they turn countless shades. Okay, now we're going to come back to that word. Or maybe I should go there right now. They turn shades, changing, and I think this is the shade, would be to vibrations, all right? Which, again, akin to color. This is another way they code things separatically, you know. So shades is they change their vibrational energies, which obviously, in which we know that other beings can do this. This is in nature, okay? But let me get back to this. And as they descend, they materialize in the atmosphere, appearing as human beings. So there are, see, because let me tell you, the whole point of this is that as things come down into physicality, we know this, their energy gets slower and slower and denser and denser. So I said, you know, a rock, they'll take, it's full of energy, it's moving. It's just not really moving. It's so slow, that thing is going to sit there for 1,000 years, okay? But it is still energy, all right? So this is what happens. They dematerialize, they lower their vibrational energy to the point where they can appear as human beings. And I would say this another, because it says in other parts, and this has been sort of, there is some, the prototype of Adam seems to be a prototype for angelic beings. They all appear humanoid, okay? There's something, this archetype is used. Even Yeshua, in his Christology, you know, when he appeared in his, let me put it this way, when he shed his physicality, and this is what Yeshua did, exactly. He changed his vibrational appearance so he could appear as he would appear normally in heaven, okay? And whoa, he was clothed in white light and a raiment, all this kind of stuff. But the point is, he still had a head. When he appeared before Peter and John, they could recognize him in a humanistic way. He had a head, he had a torso, okay? So it never loses. Again, archetype is because it never loses its totality there. So this is a very real principle, and this is why Yeshua, I mean, he came down from heaven, took on human form, he went up to heaven. These are things that, and let me just say, this is the point of the elect, stick with the program, because we are going to receive, you know, the ability to access these programs. Also, in the resurrection, we are going to be able to flip in and out, just like Yeshua. Sometimes we'll go up to the heavenly council, the throne. Sometimes we'll be down here on earth, ruling and reigning with him. Oh my gosh, it's going to be amazing. Okay. These are Uzzah and Azazel, who rebelled above and were cast down by the Blessed Holy One and materialized on earth, abiding on it, unable to strip themselves of it. And this is what it says in a lot of the pseudographics. People are reading this. they were trapped down here. They couldn't get back up to heaven, you know, because they had rebelled. They had lowered themselves for nefarious purposes. And it says that, well, there's some more information I'm going to come to. Subsequently, they strayed after earthly women. They figured, hey, if we're in Rome, let's do like the Romans, right? And to this day, this explains that they endure teaching sorcery to human beings. They engender children whom they called mighty giants, or the mighty ones, while the Nephilim themselves are called sons of Elohim, has been explained. Now, I'm going to give a lot more information on that from other Zohar texts, but let me read this footnote here. It says, these two angels opposed the creation of Adam and Eve and fell from heaven and were attracted by the daughters of men. This is stated in a much of the Pseudographia. They were punished by being bound in chains of iron in the mountains of darkness, from where they still managed to wreak havoc, teaching sorcery to humans. Now, this is what I want to say. A lot of these teachers out there, and I'm not saying, and it's awesome that this information is coming to us from many different streams, and we're all getting to verify this. But see, a lot of movies today, a lot of these X-Men movies, these are really Nephilim stories coming back to us, trying to get us to have a natural affinity and sympathy and correspondence, oh my gosh, to these now. But in Antarctica, it says in another place in the Zohar, this is all information that the sages have kept for us. They were bound in chains under a great mountain, which really is the mountain under Antarctica. It's not an accident. You have movies today, you know, where the kings of the earth, quote unquote, you know, go down to Antarctica for some reason. Like, what's going on in Antarctica? Okay, this has always been known and going on. It's kind of below the radar. This is what is called in the world of the elitists, in parts, this is remez, there's a hint, and then people who get to the sod level of understanding the mysteries, which is, there's a lot of, you gotta understand the other side knows a lot of this mystery, especially. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is Antarctica as a place, the mountain where these fallen angels are kept, set up a base, is there. Israel has been accessed, even Balaam. This is where Balaam went to learn his sorcery. Okay, and the sorceries of these fallen angels will teach mankind how to click on the programs, what stars, what to do to create havoc, and so to murder somebody, to access, you know, to make influence come. There's a lot. This is the point. This is all sort of because anytime you access the information of heaven for your own fallen, nephish, egotistical wants, desires, or intentions, you've crossed the line. Okay, that's very clear in Torah. You've crossed the line. And there is nothing, in Torah, it is totally understood, in Kabbalistic, amongst the Kabbalistic age, you never practice magic arts, all right? Now, they may have kept the understanding, praise Elohim, so that we kind of know to be wise as a serpent, so we know what's going on and we can confirm it. But does it mean those who practice magic arts are going to be damned? That couldn't be clearer, okay? So don't say something that is not true, all right? So the point is, they were being bound in chains, and wrecking, teaching sorcery to all mankind, all right? Now, I want one more time in the Zohar, one other little spot. Let's go to this. This is in volume 2. This is on page 124. This is, and this is interesting too. Let me just start with me. Come and see. After Abraham circumcised himself, he sat in pain, and the Blessed Holy One sent him 3 angels visibly to greet him, to minister to him, to encourage him, right? Now, you might ask, visibly? Who can see angels? Look at what is written. He makes his angels spirits. Okay. Yet, he really did see them descending to earth in earthly form. So this is the point. All right, let me just finish the whole thing before I rabbit trail on this. This should not seem incomprehensible to you, for they really are Holy Spirits or celestial entities, all right? They're spiritual beings, primarily. Their primary abode, like it says, is celestial, all right? But in descending to each into earth, they clothe themselves in layers of atmospheric and material elements, saying that their vibrational energy becomes lower. They take on the form, so it's what you see, and the shape of the earthly elements, manifesting as actually human beings in appearance and form. Okay, so this is what our text is telling us over and over and over, and we just need these eyes to see and hear and understand, because one of the reasons all this information is coming back out is because we're coming to the wrap-up of the end of days, and it does say that the angels of Elohim, the saints and the angels are going to fight against the angels and the wicked people of Hasatan. We're coming down to a battle. Okay, so we got to understand, and this is why many, especially in the Dead Sea Scrolls, they have a lot of texts that talk about the War Scroll, that in the last days there'll be camps of men and camps of angels on the earth together, fighting, working together, so I mean, this is real, people. Okay, so a lot of times when we 90% of the time the angels minister to us unaware. You're not really supposed to interface with them. They do their bidding. I mean, so many times, I'll just tell you a quick story. This is I had as stupid a past as anybody else. Oh my gosh. One time I was driving in New York City late at night, and I was high. What can I tell you, people? I have a past, all right? So stupid. And I had a flat tire. It's funny because as I left, I was leaving my parents, going back. I was living in New York, and on my way back, I felt like my tire went over something. I thought, well, that was kind of a weird noise, but I was high. I kept going. I was driving down 95, and my tire started to go thump, 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 and I'm freaking. I'm a totally worthless. I wouldn't know how to change tires. My life depended on it, right? So I'm freaking, and I'm thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do? And then finally, I have to pull over because the car, obviously, and I'm kind of frozen for a second, and then all of a sudden, this car full of boys, of guys, not necessarily nice and derelict, pull up right next to me, and now I'm really freaking. Okay, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I am toast. Because there was a whole scary thing going on about, defenseless women being, abducted and not treated nicely by men on highways. This is the problem. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh. And all of a sudden, right at the same time, this car pulls up behind me. And it is full of, it's these two couples, like, very nice. And, this one, and out of the car, the two men get out and they walk towards me. And they're very nice. I could tell. I didn't have any fear. I was like, just be like my parents with another friends, or out on going to the movies together, dinner movies. And they say, gee, I see you have a flat tire. Would you like us to change it? And when the car full of derelict guys who were also starting to get out of the cars, all happened at the same time, see these other two men, they get back in their car and take off. And I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you, Father. And so they change my tires. They actually, and they come to the window, they say, you're fine, you can go. And it was like unbelievable. So then I get right back on the highway, and I look behind me, the car's gone, vanished, gone, off the face of the earth. And I'm like, so I'm telling you, we all have to, so many times they are ministers to us, and they help us and do things for us. It's just an amazing thing. But the point is, we need to get more serious in our, and mature and level-headed in our understanding. Okay, because Yeshua, hey, I can bring down legions of angels anytime I want. Abraham, our patriarchs, in our Bible stories, these people interacted and interfaced with angels. The angel that came to Peter, and got him out of jail, he didn't freak out. The angel that came to Mary and explained to her prophetic destiny. This is something. Okay, so anyways, back to our fallen angels. There is a class of fallen angels that are here with us. They've always been, that can materialize in and out, can generate children. See, this is what a lot of people, and have, all right, so this is from another site. So we know in the Bible, Og was the last of the Rephaim that we explained, all right? Now, he was a giant and lived a long life through the flood at the time of Noah until the battle with the Israelites. Now, there's a lot of information about Og. In some of the, it says that even in the book of Jasher, that he was able to go through the ark. He was on the ark and able to be the one giant, one Nephillim, because the giants were wiped out in the flood. Some of them did survive. We know this from the text. But one of them, Og, who really was sort of like you could say a righteous giant, it's always an option, went through the ark and came up and was living. And he thought that he was, all right, so here we are now in Joshua. They're trying to go into the land, and they meet up with Og and his band of his progeny, right? And there's got to have a battle because the land's got to be cleared up. The Israelites are coming in. They've been promised by Elohim, right? So, but we know from the story that Og opposed him. Right now, and they go into much more depth. Og thought that he was stronger than the Israelites and Moses because he was circumcised before them. Now, Moses feared him for the same reason. It says, Elohim told Moses not to fear Og because even though he had merits from his circumcision, he corrupted his covenant and lost the connection to like, in other words, he was working for the other side at this point. He had allowed himself to be corrupted again. See, this is why people say that it's the end of our faith. You don't get once saved and you're always saved. You have to continue in holiness and righteousness. This is what the New Testament is always telling us. All right, those programs, you can't go down to the altar one day and get saved, and then constantly click on programs from the left side, become full of darkness, all your fruit is dark, and then think all of a sudden you're going to make it in the role that's called up yonder. That's not the way it works, okay? So this is what's also being told in the story of Og. I'm sorry I talk so fast. You'll just have to stop the video, go back and listen, and okay? Now that loss is represented by the missing letter Vav from the word him. And this is what, this is why the sages, when they learn Hebrew, the scribes, and they transmit information, so many times you'll understand, words have extra yods in them, they have extra hays, or the hay is in this position, or it doesn't have a Vav, it makes it defective. I mean, they have all these ways that they put clues in, remezes, to explain there's something deeper going on. There's a soul level mystery here. This is something that, even my Christian, you don't even have a clue is on your radar. But either way, I was only connected. Okay, Moses was in, and this is where they get into the Sephirotic tree of life. But the point is, Abraham was told to circumcise himself and all those that were in his household. Og was part of the household of Abraham. He really was, righteous in a lot of ways. I mean, he kind of, maybe he just tried to straddle both sides of the fence of the tree, which is, a lot of people do this. But ultimately, when he came against the Israelites and would not let them pass, and he and this is what Yahweh is trying to tell Moses, don't fear him. Even though he's a giant, and he has been in my favor in the past because of his circumcision, because he's not now. So you're going to be able to defeat him, Moses. See, it's amazing the amount of information that's been quoted, but also us. This is what we have to really understand, because we, even to this day, we face giants in the land. But I won't get into that, because there is levels where these things are used, not literally. There are no 60-foot giants walking around today, but we do know, and they have found giants even today. These things still exist. But the point is, I'm trying to say, now the Rabbi Chaya explains that the Anakim, these are why there's different words. These words are very specific in Hebrew, and they carry a lot of information with them. The Anakim were born to a mix of angels and human women. We know that that's the first generation, with Zuzai and Azael, and especially before the flood, okay? This was a very common practice, okay? Okay, the Rephaim, okay, were born to the Anakim. So here we get down to the lower generation. And just like the giants, a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, they, again, became more human as generations went on. They became darker. And this is why, in one sense, the word does mean giant in evil, because they did, progressive generations, those who stayed in this mindset with these genetics and continued to, click the programs, did descend into great darkness, and their deeds were very, very dark. This gets into the whole story of Sodom and Gomorrah. But the Rephaim were born to the Anakim. So the Anakim are the first generation. I believe this is also the story of the Titans and the Olympians that were destroyed in the flood. Some of them survived. This is why in the mythology, these are the words, this is the story. This is what the Greeks are telling us. And the Greeks are not Hebrews in their worldviews. So they're given another side to the story. Now, they lived a long life, but since they were a half angel and half human, the human part would become weak and die. That's why it says you're going to die the death of men. That's what it says in Ezekiel to Satan. You're going to die. You're eventually going to die the death of men, because a lot of these angels, when it means they're cast down, this is another way of understanding it. They really are cast out of heaven, access to the higher, like say the throne room, because right above this world of Yetzirah, Yetzirah, the lower level heavens, like the first three, that you get into the throne room, there have all the holy angels. All right. They couldn't leave this world, and their spirit had to stay in this world. All right. Now, when they gave up on life, they took special herbs that caused them to die. Now, this is really interesting, and we finish this. The same Rephaim was given to them. The name Rephaim was given to them because they had a weak desire to live after their body died. So we know that demons, again, also is a classification of these angels whose spirits still roam this earth. They're trapped here. They can't get out. They do have access to Gehenna, to the lower levels. And they basically, it's what demons, they want your energy. They want to feed off you. They want to enter you as a humanoid with body and run their programs through you. Oh my gosh, this is really demon possession. And it's a way whole deep subject we can't talk about. I'm not going down that rabbit trail right now. But the point is, the Rephaim was given to them. The name was given to them because they had a weak desire to live after their body died, after they had taken these herbs. Some of them drowned themselves in the ocean as implied. The word, and I can't speak the Hebrew, there's two Hebrew, which means unholy. They removed the holy aspect of the angel part in them, and then they could die. Now, this is a really important principle, because for people, especially out there who teach that, you know, the soul dies, no. It says very clearly, especially in fleshed out in a lot of Zohar writings, a lot of the Dead Sea Scrolls, and a lot of in the Clementine literature, the soul programs, these things are made up of immortality, immortal parents. They don't die. These programs, you can't kill these heavenly programs. Let me put it that way. All right. And if they're part of you, you can't kill them. All right. This is by being half angel and half man. All right. They took herbs that would kill the bodies. This is interesting because we know this is part of the whole history of pharmakia. There are certain herbs that will generate life. There are certain herbs that will generate death. I just knew this. There's no new information under the sun, all right? So they would ingest herbs that would cause the material to die and decompose and to kill it, okay? And then their spirit could be released from that body, and they could quote unquote die, but they still roam in the earth. Remember, there's 7 earth levels and 7 abyss levels, okay? Such deep stuff. Okay, so the dead, this verse in Job 26:5, it says the dead tremble or are in great anguish. This is the reason. The dead always reference those who originate, are running on programs, manifesting the fruit of in allegiance with the left side, the evil side, all right, the demonic side. Their energy is demonically, there's no life in that, all right? So they're dead, okay, they're dead, all right? That's what it talks about in terms of death. It's talking about there is no life in them. They don't have the programs. They're totally fallen, and they're in darkness. Okay, those who live beneath and it says who are in the water, it's those who live beneath the waters, the lower waters. This is why the Sephirah is telling them. They died, the dead tremble themselves, those who live beneath the waters. This is what, see, they're using the typology. They're not changing a thing. They had angelic programs. They fell down to earth. They materialized. They couldn't get back up. They couldn't really die per se, because these angelic programs kept their bodies living. So in order to do it, they had to take on herbs. They had to take potencies that would kill them. See, this is why all this knowledge is out there. This is some of the origination. Yet at the same time, their souls are still around. And this is why, what I was going to say in the vibrationals, that's why animals sometimes can see shades. This is what another way of saying this. That's why they're called shades, because they're kind of celestial. Their body parts are very, they're more celestial than they are terrestrial at that point. But animals can see them. This is what's going on. So it's so very interesting. Okay, so another quote here. Rabbi Yahya said that the people of the land were called Nephillim, Anakim, and Rephaim. All right, so they have the Nephillim, the giants. They're a mixture, creating a larger original humanoid of Adamic. They're Anakim, meaning they're first generation Titans. They are the Rephaim, which would be the Titan, the Olympians, the subsequent generations. They live a long life. We know this historically. The word Nephilim comes from the word means falling. This name was given to them because they were children of rebel angels that mixed themselves with the women of this earth. Anakim means giant, to describe the size and strength of the children that came from this unification. So they're not, again, this is all in the oral writings. There's nothing new under the sun. This is information that's always been kept, but it's very mature information. That's why sod level means mystery. I mean, this is nothing you're going to start teaching in Sunday school, okay? You got to be kind of more mature and able to handle this, and not with a fear, to freak out, right? Either you got to understand, okay, greater is he that's in me, the programs that I run, like he told Moses, don't worry about it. You're going to beat him. You have access to higher programs. I am in the heavens. I will help you. Call upon my name. See, this is all makes great sense. Rephaim means weak, to describe weaker states that they were when they disconnected themselves from the supernal world. Because, that's why they say, we have the most limitations down here on earth. Okay, even though we once connected to the highest heights, down here we have the most limitations of all of the living beings. But praise Elohim, this whole thing is getting close to a wrap up. You need this understanding, in my opinion, to be at the top of your game when all of this comes down, and we need to fight the good fight. And this time we're going to win. So on that note, shalom, blessings. Always do your due diligence, and never changes. Just love Yahweh and keep Torah.